photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
Hello and welcome to the judging of the 6th category of the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize, the aerial category. We're thrilled to have you with us from wherever you are across the world as we celebrate the best of the best in aerial photography. I'm Robin Campbell, the Foundation Director of the Australian Photographic Prize. I've been invited here on behalf of Daniel Bingham, the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize Competition Director. Also working hard to make the prize a reality is our Director of Judging, Chris Anderson, who has expertly curated an incredible panel of judges from all over the world. Thank you to Nathan Bingham, who is expertly running our live stream, and Helen Bingham, our amazing scribe. Before we begin, we have a custom in Australia at the beginning of meetings called Acknowledgement of Country. I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woi Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which this event is hosted today. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. The Australian Photographic Prize would not be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. We'd like to thank the following organisations for their ongoing support. Nikon Australia, our major sponsor, who is awarding our overall winner $5,000 in Nikon product. Thank you so much to Julie, Kylie, and the Nikon Australia team. Our division sponsors, AZO. Thank you so much for sponsoring the 2025 Creative Photographer of the Year with a monitor valued at over $2,500. Thank you, AZO. Thank you to KL and Godox for sponsoring our Classic division, and Ilford for sponsoring our Single Capture division. Also, a big thank you to Photography Studies College, who are kindly donating $1,500 in scholarship on any course at Photography Studies College for a high school student photographer of the year. And to Print Shop, who are donating a print consultation and 2 A1 prints totaling $500 to the student photographer of the year. Please show them your appreciation by visiting their websites, tagging them in your posts, and letting them know that their support makes a difference. So, this is how tonight will run. Each finalist image will be judged by our live panel, who will provide live commentary, feedback, and when appropriate, challenges. I've got a feeling there's going to be lots of challenges tonight. Individual image scores will be displayed as we go, and at the end of the session, both the Australian and international winners will be selected offline by a panel of judges from the top 5 scoring entries. First, second, and third places will be announced during our live awards event on Sunday, the 20th of July, so make sure you mark your calendar and join us. We're now going to run a playthrough of the top 34 images in the aerial category. Thanks, Nathan. I now have the honour of introducing our legendary panel mentor, Tony Hewitt. Tony is a nationally and internationally recognised award-winning photographer and awards presenter. Thanks for joining us, Tony.
Thanks again, Robin, and thank you again to the team behind the scenes. What you can't see back home is the incredible work that's gone behind to create this system, which is world-class, and I'm sure the judges appreciate it as much as I do. The classic division is where the aerial category falls under, and classic division allows for post-production techniques that may be used to complement the original intent of the capture. In the aerial category, of course, we're looking for images capturing the beauty of the Earth's contours and textures from that unique vantage point of above. And of course, that can be in lots of different ways. It doesn't have to be a drone or a helicopter or a plane, as long as it's an aerial perspective. Okay, we are going to get pretty much into the judging, but before we do, I'm going to introduce this incredibly elite panel of judges to you just briefly, including Chris Saunders from WA in Perth in WA, who is a landscape photographer. And Chris has a gift of transforming natural scenes into abstract, painterly type of works of art, often captured from the air, as we've said. He explores light, texture and form. Chris has many accolades to his name, including 3 times Australian Photographer of the Year, once with the RPP and twice through the NZIPP. He has been or has developed a reputation as somebody who brings a very calm, considered presence to the judging panel. Johannes van Kaan, as he likes to be called. Johan van Kaan is from Christchurch in New Zealand, someone I've known a long time. He doesn't just take photographs, he observes and he listens and he translates moments into visual poetry. And this is something he wrote, or someone else wrote, but I can tell you, having known this is very much the truth. He finds rhythm, calm and character in spaces with his photography. And again, although he describes himself as a caffeinated photographer and a closet poet, he does bring an incredible insight, stillness, and often a little bit of verse to the conversation as a judge, and we're incredibly privileged to have him with us. Speaking of which, we have Matt Palmer from the Alpine area of Victoria, again an award-winning photographic talent and artist based up that way, with a special focus on landscape and documentary work. He has a deep love for the natural world, and often his images aim to tell a story and capture a powerful sense of place. And another one that brings to the judging panel an incredible sense of authenticity and atmosphere and an eye for detail. Many awards to his name, including NZIPP Australian Documentary Photographer of the Year and project winner at the Natural Landscape Photography Awards, amongst many others. At Matthew Vasilescu, and I'm sure Matthew's happy that I probably said that right. He's smiling, that's good. From New South Wales, Sydney in particular, has decades of experience as a photographer, although he doesn't look it, the young fella. Brings a refined blend of science and instinct to every image and a product of deep study and years of practice. And again, joining the panel with a long list of awards under his name, including the high scoring print at the ARPP's Australian Photography Awards, he's ready to engage with the same depth and intention in his judging as he brings to his own practice. Melanie Burt, also from New South Wales and Sydney, is a Sydney-based photographer with a background that's quite diverse, including everything from commercial and event photography through to portraits, but also a little bit of aerial work as well, which is why she's here, combining technical precision with a warm and approachable style. She has also been recognised at the Siena Creative Awards over in Europe and has won awards across illustrative, landscape and travel and documentary categories. So another diverse photographer who brings a strong photographic background and a genuine passion for thoughtful, impactful image making. Mika Boynton, another specialist landscape and aerial photographer based in Bright, Victoria, is another one of our judges with a deep connection to the natural world. She truly immerses herself in the moments that allow her to appreciate the stillness and wild beauty of nature. Her images are rich with form and rhythm, and she has won many awards in various avenues and various areas of the photography industry, including a Master of Distinction with the NZIPP2, APS Grand Master and a Fiat Master. She is also the 2022, 23 and 24 NZIPP Australian Landscape Photographer of the Year. She brings a deep love for storytelling and a sharp eye for compositional strength, as well as that beautiful smile that you can probably see now when you see her come up. And of course, rounding out our elite panel is Peter Barnes from Adelaide in South Australia. Peter is a commercial photographer specialising in architectural and industrial photography with a strong focus on form, strength, structure and function. He's well known for his clarity and technical expertise and documents the built environment with precision and purpose. A Master of Photography with the RPP, and it has been a finalist in selections in the Bonus Prize for Photography and the Emma Hack Art Prize. Peter brings to the panel a commercial background as well as a deep commitment to thoughtful, well-crafted imagery and a deep understanding of professional practice. We are truly privileged to have all of these people with the panel tonight. And without any more ado, I think it's great time for us to jump in and look at our very first aerial image at the Australian Photographic Prize. Thank you, Daniel. And while they're looking, just to let you know that we have the 7 judges, 5 will be active at any one time. At the moment, we have Chris, Johan, Matt, Melanie and Mika, with Matthew and Peter, who will rotate through later. Thank you, judges. Melanie. Thank you. We have an 84 Silver Award. And I'm guessing, Chris, that you might want to have a chat about it. Chris, you're 92, going down through the scores to 79. Chris is electing to challenge this score. Thank you, Chris. That's an 84 you're working with.
Thanks. Cheers, Tony. Yeah, look, what a great image to get us started off with. Plenty of punch, energy, vibrancy, and all sorts of textures for us to enjoy in this. So for me, this is a really strong example of what aerials can be in terms of exploring tone, texture, abstract imagery, and color palette. So some of the things that I'm particularly drawn to in this are the three-dimensionality in those red hues down through the bottom, the way that they then sort of fade out into almost the sort of watercolor type texture through the top of the image. I think the use of the blues, the reds and the yellows as the primary colors through their work fantastically. There's footprints you can follow through there. So I'm interested. Obviously, I'm out there a bit on this one. It would be great. It would be great if you can, if I can convince you guys to come up to a gold. But interested to hear what's perhaps holding you guys down in the silver at the moment.
Okay, let's listen to Mika on 79.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Chris, and I applaud the vibrance of this image. It's like an explosion, and it's so painterly. It really is like it's a watercolor, but the texture across the majority of the image is, while that's fantastic, if you look carefully in the lighter areas of the image, that texture doesn't carry through. However, I hadn't really appreciated how textural the red areas are, and I know how difficult red is to work with, so I do recognize that. So I can probably come up into a silver, but I'm not sure that I can stretch to a gold.
Let's have a chat to Matt, who's on 83.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. I'd say in the positive aspect, what took me up higher into silver was the footsteps of animals that you find all throughout the scene, and the fact that those footsteps sometimes disappear, which kind of suggests that maybe it was a bird walking and then taking off again. And I thought that was a really beautiful, subtle detail within what is a very energetic and vibrant scene. I think what was holding me back from that higher score was the originality or emotional resonance that is in the criteria for the higher scoring ranges. So if you can explain perhaps more about the originality of the image, or what you're seeing in it in that regards, or how you're responding to it emotionally, then I would appreciate that.
Okay, let's go back to Chris. You've muted, Chris.
Yeah, sorry, I was double hammering it there, Tony. But yeah, Matt, look, I think coming to your points first around the emotional connection to this image. I feel that red through here is very, I get almost like a sort of an organic feel to it, whether it's blood vessels coming out or whatever. But I can definitely feel some sort of organism there, whether it's alien or whatever it is, reaching out with tentacles, trying to spread and grow. And I just I think for me, that's where I just enjoy the abstract part of the image. Mika, I agree with you. There is some lack of detail in those real bright highlights in between those red fronds. I personally don't mind that as a choice. I think if it was texture overload everywhere, then the reds wouldn't have quite the same impact. So I believe that's been left like that deliberately rather than over sharpened through the entire image, and they've selectively applied that to focus in those main areas. So look, it sounds like I'm out there on gold on this, and a bit of work to do to get it up there. But it would be great. We're only 1 point away from getting this into a silver distinction, and I truly think it's an exemplary piece of aerial photography.
Okay, judges, if you could take on board what you've heard from Chris and the others and rescore. Johan, I'm not sure if you can hear us. Can you? Because you're showing up as dropping off. So Johan, I think your computer's offline. The judging, the one that you're scoring on. Okay, there we go. You're back. Thank you. Get you to enter your score. And we have an 86, silver with distinction. Thank you, judges. Well done. Next image, please. Image scores 84, silver. Congratulations to the photographer. And all judges pretty much in that mid-silver range, or 4 out of 5 judges. Yeah, congratulations to the photographer. Let's get a quick comment, if we can, from Mika, please.
Yeah, I love the story that's being told here, the tractor and the lines and all the other lines that the photographer has chosen to include. I think that's really clever, and it really, I'm sure there was a temptation to just include the very graphical elements, but the inclusion of all the rest of it, I think, is really helpful to tell this story. The details are just a little bit soft. That's my main criticism, but fantastic aerial here, and all the straight lines are just really impressive.
Thanks, Mika. That's good feedback. Next image, please. Image scores silver with distinction, 85. Congratulations to the photographer and all the judges within a couple of points of each other. Very consistent opinion there. Let's have a quick comment, if we can, from Johannes. Johan.
What a beautiful image. Wow. The color palette is just outstanding. The presence of the peaks gives it a three-dimensionality that is just absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure what I would do to improve it. Maybe the splashes of white needed a little bit more detail, but it's just got a lovely arcing, and it's a wonderful image. Sorry, I couldn't be more.
Thank you, Johan. Next image, please. This image scores 81, silver award. Again, all judges very close together. Mika, you gave this 81. Let's help us understand why.
I did. I love the idea that the whale and its calf are diving and are leaving the shore. I think that's really clever. The composition of this is really fantastic. To improve the image, I'd just be a little careful in the brights, and I know how difficult that is. But yeah, that's the only suggestion that I can come up with. But I think it's and possibly a little bit sharper on the animals. But yeah, it's a really terrific image.
Yeah, I think just the contrast is something that just the blacks of the whales are a little heavy, and the whites, as you say. Let's have a judge change. We're going to move you around pretty quickly. So, Chris, I'm going to let you step off for a minute and bring Matthew in. We'll keep the judges moving around pretty quick. Next image, please. This image scores 86, silver distinction, with 4 out of 5 judges giving it 86. It's a pretty consistent judging. Congratulations to the photographer with a silver distinction. Johan, perhaps a quick comment, if you will, please.
There's a beautiful graphic to this, and the black of the water elements is striking, but to have those blue dots across the top works incredibly well. I think to improve it, and I'm not sure how you would improve it by perspective, but the bend on what let's call them wharves or jetties, sort of pulls you away from the image, from the linearity of the image. So I think if there was a way to get a better angle that didn't give you that, I think it'd be just super impressive.
Okay, thank you. Next image, please. This is the aerial category at the Australian Photographic Prize. I'm sure you know that because you had the right link to get here. And we have a judging panel that's quite mixed with a lot of aerial expertise, commercial expertise, technical expertise, and poetic expertise as well. A lot of abstracts do bring that to the fore. And this image scores an 84 silver award, though something tells me it may not stay there. Mika, you're challenging on 90.
Yes, I think that this image is not just about flamingos flying over a very strangely coloured water surface. As an abstract, this is a piece that I could have on my wall and appreciate for a really long time. The movement of the ridge line of whatever differentiates the spotty water from the clear water. I'm guessing maybe ice. It's really hard to tell. I'm not fussed by what it actually is, but we've got this textural water surface beautifully separated from this much smoother, deeper green surface. And just in and of itself, those two things I think are beautiful. But then to add the flamingos in flight, they're all like ballerinas. Their wings are all over the place. It's like they're all dancing on this beautiful Swan Lake surface. The shadows that have been cast add an additional dimension to the image. It's got texture, it's got dimension. I am emotionally moved by this image. I think it's worthy of a gold, and I would like to hear why my panel of my contemporary judge, no, wrong word. The judges on this panel have held themselves back from going to gold.
Okay, let's hear from somebody. So Matthew, you're on 82.
Yeah, I'm on 82 at the moment. Mika, I appreciate all of those things that you've talked about in them. They're things that I connect with as well. The difference in the textures of the water, the capture of the birds and their flight path, the dimensionality of the separation with their shadows. The thing that I'm maybe looking at in it is just the separation of those. There's a lot of space in the image, and I'm always one who appreciates space in an image. I really do. I just there's almost feels like we've got two separate images here in some respects, a left image and a right image, and the connection between them is just very separated.
Okay, Johan, do you have something to add?
Yep. I love this image, all the positive things everybody else has said. I have given it an 83. I'm happy to tweak it up a little bit. What I wish for is less of the left-hand side, because I feel that's redundant to the image and it makes it heavy and it's unfortunate. I have to commend the photographer on presenting us with beautiful detail through the whites. Yeah.
Thank you, Johan. Back to you, Mika.
Yeah, I originally hesitated because of that left-hand side being so different from the right-hand side, but in the end, I actually think that is a very purposeful decision by the photographer to include that, and it's because of that wave of line that goes through the image, and had that not been included, that would have truncated the beauty of that, and the stuff that's going on in the top left-hand corner is just beautiful. It's really fascinating. The texture of the area on the left, I almost called it a wave, but the area on the left, there is an echo of that on the right hand side in the flatter water. So I do feel like it is tied in, and of course the shadows of the birds that go across the line, the birds themselves go across the line, they're bridging that. So yes, while there is difference and there's contrast and there's stories, but I think they all come together in the end. As I said, I do think it's purposeful. I think the photographer has gone for a very original composition, and I actually think that is very intentional. So I'm definitely still, I've heard everything you've had to say, but I don't feel like there's anything there that would hold me back from continuing to push for some additional points to at least get it up to silver distinction, if not gold.
Thank you, Mika. You can hold your score. Judges, please rescore. Take on board what you've heard. For the benefit of the audience listening and watching, judges don't have to change their score. It's up to them. They take on board the extra comments raised in the discussion, and that allows them to reassess. And we now have a silver distinction with 87. Well done. And let's have another judge change. Matt, you can take a little break, and Peter is going to join the panel all the way from sunny Adelaide, although nowhere is sunny at the moment, really. Next image, please. Thank you, Peter. And we have an 83 silver award. All judges very close to that. Consistent opinions. Let's have a quick comment, if we can, from Melanie. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you. I really enjoyed, there's quite a bit of humour I've found in this image. Initially I thought the cars or trucks or whatever were moving, but they're actually burnt out and rusted, and it kind of, I don't know, there's like they've done all this circle work, I guess, on the left-hand side, and then nature's got the better of them and they're just left there. And I think it's a really clever composition, just in terms of colour and tone with those rusted old cars in there. So I think it was very, very clever, well seen image.
Thanks, Melanie. Next image, please. Image scores a silver with distinction. 4 out of 5 judges in the high end of the 80s. Are we all happy with that, judges? Yep. Okay. Mika, you have a comment to make. Thank you, Mika.
I think the colors and the textural quality of this photograph are fantastic. You really get a 3D effect, and it's almost like, I don't know, a helicopter itself or a bee. It really makes this stand out. I do feel that the inclusion of the rock, the top left-hand side, is potentially bringing down this photograph just because the detail that's throughout the rest of the image isn't matched on the surface of that rock, and it is an element that takes my eye to it, and then I'm not rewarded. So had it been focused on the helicopter part of the image, I think it would have been absolutely woo.
How would it have been again?
Woo!
Very good. Okay, let's have the next image, please. We have a score of 90, a gold award. Well done. Congratulations to the photographer. Again, it's happened once today. All judges are in a position to challenge due to the fact that 4 of you are in the gold range and 1 of you is 5+ points away. So what I'm going to do, Johannes, is I'm going to call a panel challenge because all 5 of you could challenge. I'm calling the challenge, which means no one gets a right of reply and all judges can rescore. Again, to remind the audience, that doesn't have to mean it goes up, it can go down. The idea is to flush out more information, find out what the judges are thinking, and then they can reassess their scores. So I'm going to start with the highest score, which is Mika. Get to the point if you can, guys, so everyone can have a chance to speak. And if someone said your bit, just say I concur with what's been said, and I'd like to add the following. Off you go, Mika.
Yeah, I got instant reaction. I feel like it's skin. It's Batman. It's a knife. It's the good and evil, but looks evil but has goodness. There's texture and detail everywhere. The detail just blows me away. It's so beautiful, and that skin-like texture. In the shadows, I love the blues. Usually I would be very critical of the blue shadows, but in this instance, that color contrast between the golds and the blues is just beautiful. Yeah, I'm so glad that you have allowed this elective challenge, Tony, because I think I can find a few more points in here.
Okay, let's go to Melanie.
Yeah, I was with silk scarf kind of effect, but it seems to fall onto some sort of 3D situation. It's a beautiful. I'm also going to find a few points here too. I think the more I look at it, it's the more impact it seems to be having. There's another worldly light that seems to be coming in from the right that is just lighting up all of those areas. That yeah, it's incredible. Great image.
Thank you, Melanie. The benefit of a five-judge panel, I should say, is that we get all sorts of perspectives. So, Peter, at 83, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one as well.
Oh, I think this is an excellent image. I love the mystery and the punch that's in all of this. I concur with a lot of what's been said, and I'm going to come up.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Matthew, you're a 91. I'm giving everyone a chance to speak.
Yeah, look, again, I concur with everything that's been said. The bit that or the part of the image that I zoomed into the most is that top right part looking at it. There's just so much movement in the stillness of what it is. Melanie said scarf, silk and what have you. I feel like there's the movement all the way through that part of the image where everything else is really still. And that just creates such a connection to it, and you wondering what it is. So yeah, I'm well happy where it is. I'm glad that we're talking about it.
Okay, let's finish off with Johan. You're on mute, mate. Thank you.
I actually have nothing else to say because it's just so stunning. I'm actually in awe of what it might be, what it could be, and the colors are stunning. It's just everything about it just exudes high gold. And that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. So you've all had a chance to speak. You all have a chance to reassess your score. But of course, you don't have to change your score, or you may choose to. Take on board what you've heard, rescore. Thank you. We have a 95 gold distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. Very different aerial. It's well done. Okay, let's have the next image, please. This image scores 90 gold. Congratulations to the photographer. 3 judges in the gold range. This actual scores average 89, but with the majority rule that we apply, because 3 judges have given it in the gold range, it does score a 90. Again, all judges are pretty high. One of you is standing out a little bit further above, so I'm going to go for the elective challenge. Matthew, 95. You can have an elective challenge if you choose.
Yes, please.
Okay,
yeah,
and you've got 92, 92, 85 and 82 to work with.
Yeah. Looking at this image, the first thing that I look at, or the first thing that comes to mind, is that I'm hearing this image as well as seeing it. Like I'm literally hearing what is going on here and what the photographer had to do to capture this image to be in this position. But then when you zoom in and look at it, there's detail in every single aspect of it, through to that deepest part of the lava and the stream there, into the highlights, all the way through to that bottom part of that image. It's just so lovely to look at. There's not a part of it that I don't want to explore and that I don't want to see. It's just such a well crafted, well put together, well captured, and well presented to us to see and to talk about. Even those wisps of cloud or whatever it is that they might be, smoke rising up on that right hand side. There's still detail in that, and the things that you can see underneath it. It's really worth coming up into that higher gold distinction range for this image.
Thank you, Matthew. Mika, you're at 82, so you're at the other end.
Yeah, I was a little drawn away from all of the fantastic stuff that you've just described, to the area on the left because it has light falling on it, and the area at the top because it has light falling on it. And I wanted to just explore the shift down the bottom and to the right, because I feel like that's where all of it is all happening. I do feel like there's I can certainly factor in a lot more of what you've spoken about, and find some additional points to come up higher. But I would like to hear that addressed.
Okay, let's go to Johan, who's also in the gold range.
Yep. First, I want to acknowledge the danger the photographer put themselves in to create this image. There was a lot of risk there. The ability to capture so much detail in all of the shadows and in those incredibly intense highlights is powerful. That's a tribute to somebody doing their job very, very well. The framing of the image by the lighter areas at the top and the side give it a sense of reality. It gives it a sense of so much real that gives it permission to be. I think this image speaks of power and strength and burning. I'm going to burn my 92 score and make it higher.
Okay, Peter, you were mid-80s. You were a bit lower than gold, 85. You're on mute, Peter.
In addition to what Johan just said about the technical brilliance of this photograph, what I love about it, in addition to its graphical beauty, is the fact that it tells us a story. It's informative. It discusses the relationship between volcanoes and eruptions and lava streams. And for that, I think it's well worth of maybe I'll come up a bit more, but it's a glorious photograph.
Okay, let's come back to you.
Me?
Yeah, let's go back to you. Matthew. Thank
look,
you. I was just looking to see if anyone else was wanting to speak.
Sure. So Mika, I think Johannes had basically said it then, that travel of light and that light path is what allows us to see all the parts of the image. You know, we're looking for brighter parts because not every image is evenly, cleanly, beautifully lit. You know, light does travel up and down. There is up and down elements in this image as the light rises and falls. Then that's the natural part of the light. That's how we're going to naturally see the light traveling across this plane. But I think it's just the explosion of this image, and exactly as Johannes said, you know, the danger that the photographer was in to capture this, to be there, to have camera or however it's captured in hand, take a breath, take lots of breaths, and make an image and see this image and capture it, and hope, I guess, as well, after they had flown past, that they've captured what they've captured.
I will just add a comment that there's a possibility this is a drone, so just be aware of that.
Yeah, possibility as well.
Okay.
There's a reason why both of my drones start with SS comeback 1 and SS comeback 2, and you can make up what the SSs are.
Yeah.
One of them is scared, the other one is something else.
Yep.
Because
we'll get back to the image.
Whatever it's captured with, it's a beautiful explosion of an image, and it tells us everything that we want to see in it.
Thank you, Matthew. You hold your score at 95. Judges take on board what you've heard, and you can rescore accordingly. This image scores 95, gold with distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. Let's have a little judge change. Chris, I'd like to bring you back, and Mika, you can have a little break. Thank you. And let's have the next image, please. This image scores 83, silver award, all judges very, very close to that. Let's have a brief comment, if we can, please, from Chris.
Yeah, wonderful color palette and softness in the sky, and the use of the road to sort of lead us around the frame and into the background, and then you sort of circle background on the right hand side, so you end up just really exploring through the image. I think it would make a fantastic postcard for someone, or a corporate image. The only suggestion I would have potentially to improve this is if there's another frame which gives a bit more space on the left hand side, so that road that we're not taken completely out the image and then have to pop back in. But yeah, really well done, and a great capture of I guess a Norwegian or Scandinavian village or something. Yeah.
I think it's Lofferton. Matt would know.
Ah, good. Right.
Yeah.
That
Next
part of the
image,
world, anyway.
thanks. Image scores 81, silver award. Everybody very close. Thank you, judges. That's a very consistent judging. Melanie, and perhaps a quick comment for the photographer.
Yeah, I think the photographer's done well to capture the color palette of blues and oranges, works really well together, and draws us up through the frame there to that beautiful texture. I wonder if there is a little bit of lost detail on the left in those darker colors, but yeah, it's a beautiful capture.
Thanks, Mel. We'll have a little judge change. Matt, I'll get you to come back. Melanie, you can take a break. Only because your comments were so good, we need to make sure we don't use you up too quickly. Next image, please. For the benefit of the viewing audience, those you might notice judges looking off to the side away from camera. Sometimes if it comes to them, that's because they're looking at a second screen. One of the things we ask for is a calibrated monitor, and often they're working the judging process with 2 or 3 screens, so they can have the zoom on one and have a large image to assess on the other screen. So they will turn their head, if you notice when they're talking sometimes, looking at that other screen to make sure they're getting the full effect and potential of the image. This image scores an 86, a silver with distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. Peter, I get the feeling you might want to have a chat about this. You're on mute, mate. You just take it off mute, thanks.
I'd like to challenge this, Tony.
Okay,
Yes.
I heard that. So you're 91, and then you've got everybody else is in the sort of mid to high 80s. Off you go.
Yeah, the graphics in this just struck me as soon as I saw it. And then I started to look into the detail that's there, and the detail that's been so beautifully presented, so we can see it all. What I love most about it is that it's obviously of a landform of some sort, or a mixture of land and sea, but those textures look so organic, look so animal-like, look so like they're alive, that I'm just entranced by this, and I'd urge you all to come up.
Okay, Matthew on 82.
Yes, sorry, I'm on 82, and yes, I'm looking over there at my other screen. Again, I appreciate greatly the texture in it. The textures in each of the elements that are in there are really lovely. They're nicely captured. The central sort of bit, there's maybe a little bit of loss of detail towards that top left part of the image. It's the black elements in there that I'm not sure how they're connecting things as well. And again, maybe like one of the previous images, I just feel like there's space in here that there's a couple of images going on. that are on the screen instead of one harmonious image.
Okay, thank you. Johan, you're an 88, so you're close to gold.
Yeah. Normally, I would complain the hell out of no details in the black, but the strength of the black in this image is its power. It makes you look through the textures of the rest of the image. It flows from a warm gray to a warm tan, and it's in such a beautiful way. It just eases you through, but there's parts. There's definitive, sharp, and clear lines that separate each of the different textures. It's a very, very striking image. And I'm pleased that I don't understand it because it's such a graphic presentation and it's powerful, it's strong. Those black parts they stop you and let you enjoy the textured elements. The light area towards the top of the image has enough detail to keep your interest. It's so powerful. It reminds me of something that you might find on parts of an elephant. It's just beautiful. I gave it an 88 and I'm happy to be talked up.
Thank you, Johannes. Let's go back to you, Peter.
I don't think I can add any more to Johannes's beautiful description of this wonderful image. So okay. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Peter. You hold your score at 91. Judges take on board the comments and reassess as you see fit. We have an 88 silver distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. This image scores 85 silver distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. All judges pretty much, they're all in the 80s anyway. I'm going to get a comment, if I can, please, from Matthew on 86.
Oh, look, it's a gorgeous image to look around. The separation of the ground and looking through the clouds, that just creates such a layer that we're peering down at this image from the vantage point that we are. And then just all the lovely little pastels of colours that are on the earth below. There's lovely texture in all of the trees. It's really well captured and beautifully presented to us.
Thank you, Matthew. Next image, please. This image scores 87 silver with distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. 4 of our judges very close to that, and the other one not that far away either. Let's have a comment from Matt Palmer. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, another spectacular image. The whites in this image are really held beautifully given the subject matter. It creates such a contrast against the dark water. I think what would improve it very marginally, because it's already at a very high level, is perhaps just pulling back the brightness of the ground at the bottom of the frame could help lift out that white figure even more. But we're talking very, very marginal.
Thank you, Matt. And we'll have a quick judge change. Johan, you could have a little break. And Mika, if you'd like to come back and join us, thank you. And we'll have the next image, please. Image scores silver, 81. All judges close. That's great judging. Everybody's pretty close together. Let's have a quick comment, if we can, please, from Chris on 80.
Yeah, this image really grabs you when when it appears on the screen, and the color palette is wonderful. The play between those reds and sort of dark purples and oranges and yellows work really well with the whites and so on. I think I think to improve this image, it really draws you in, and you then want to start exploring some of the detail in there. But there seems to be a lack of resolution or sharpness in the image, which sort of means you're left admiring the image from a bit of a distance. So I'm not quite sure how to correct that, but that's what held me back from going higher. But overall, a very impactful image. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Great comments. Next image, please. This is the aerial category at the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. We have judges from in the judging pool for all over the 18 categories, I believe, or something like that. We have judges from all over the world, including Europe, in UK, New Zealand, and many other places. And of course, we have a core group from Australia and New Zealand. All talented photographers in their own right, many awards between them, and each panel brings together a diverse group of judges. This image that we're looking at now has just scored an 83. Silver award, well done to the photographer, but I got a feeling the judges will be listening to Matthew, who's given it 91 and would like to challenge. Thank you, Matthew.
Look, it's a beautiful looking image. The first thing that I'm drawn to in looking at this image are the birds in flight, because when you zoom in and look at them, it almost looks like they've like paper planes that they've just been thrown in the air, because their wings are all 90% in exactly the same position. They're just gliding gracefully over this land that's underneath them that we're appreciating and looking at, and that lovely pattern and curve that's complementing them and going through, and they're completely oblivious to it because that's their natural environment that they see all the time, because that's how they see the world. It's just so beautifully put together and captured of birds en masse at traveling all in the same path together. There's every element about it is lovely, and I think the judges need to probably have maybe a bit of a look at all of those elements in the image.
Thank you, Matthew. Chris?
Yeah, I was on the other end of the spectrum, I guess, down at 80, Matthew, and I thought the background has been exquisitely dealt with and very well processed. Yeah, there's lots of detail throughout there, and the tonal range has been very well managed. And a bit like you see all these birds and you want to go, okay, where's Wally? And you want to dive in and zoom in on them and start exploring the differences between them. But when I do that, I get, there's a lot of overexposed highlights in every single one of those birds, and unfortunately for that reason, I'm sort of held back from those higher silver distinctions and golds where I'm sort of that requirement for excellence in craft or a highly elevated execution is keeping me down in that silver range. So just for those highlights in the birds, I'm afraid, but only because it's such an important part of this image for me.
Now let's hear from Matt on 82.
Sorry, Chris has already spoken for me.
Okay, you're happy. Okay, what about Peter? Have you got something to add?
My reason for scoring where I did was the same as the previous speaker about the overexposed birds.
Okay, back to you, Matthew.
Look, me personally, I don't read the birds as overexposed. I read the birds as white, because when we're looking for a tonal range and we're looking at imagery, we're looking for a black and we're looking for a white in the images, and there is a black in those shadows, and the tops of those birds are white. To treat every single one of the hundreds of birds that are in there is maybe nigh on impossible, but the birds are one of the elements in the image. It's exactly as you said, Chris. It's that lovely background that they are floating past and flying through, and those birds en masse. Yes, the very center of each of them might be white. It might be reading as overexposed. I don't read them as overexposed. I read them as white, because that is a white part of the bird.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. You hold your score at 91, and judges, you can take on board the scores or the discussion, and please rescore. And we have an 84 silver award. Well done to the photographer. Let's have the next image, please. Thank you, Matthew. This image scores a 91 gold award. Congratulations to the photographer. All judges very, very close to the same score, low 90s or with a one high 80. Now, 4 of you have the opportunity to challenge if you wish, but given that you're all pretty close to where it's ended up anyway, does anyone wish to challenge, or are they happy?
I'm happy to challenge.
91. Sorry?
I'm happy to challenge.
Okay.
Because I know that means I won't be able to change my score, which I'm okay with.
Okay, thanks, Matt. You go ahead.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the image itself, it's absolutely exquisite. The composition is brilliant. It's pareidolia in terms of you're seeing like farmyard infrastructure, fencing, that kind of thing for livestock, but then it's transformed into almost like a ballet or a dance between a duo, and one of them is flicking their leg up and wearing a moon boot or something like that. And I just think it just has a real sense of whimsy that's been created by something that isn't generally seen as a whimsical thing. So I think that's absolutely beautiful, the way that it's been created in these snowy fields, but almost looks like it's been a painted board or something, and then somebody's come along with a brush and just painted on these little black strokes to create the shapes. The only thing, the only reason I'm happy on my 92 or 91 and not wanting to potentially score higher is I just felt like there could have been a little bit more detail in it when you really zoom into it. But I think what is there is just divine.
Okay, Chris, your hand came up next, so let's have a listen to you. You are higher than Matt.
Yeah, I was on 93 for this one. So for me, the whole matchstick figures, the sort of, I don't know whether there's feelings of Lowry there, or whatever whatever artist it is that does the matchstick figures in his paintings. I think that's really clever that you've got this landscape, but you can see two personalities in it, and those two personalities are interacting with each other. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing, but I could have a lot of fun staring at this image, trying to work out what it is that they're doing together. Everything is deliberate in this image. Everything is squared up, and points into the right directions. The fact that it's even monochrome in nature as well for an aerial abstract. Our saturation sliders can sometimes get overworked. So to be brave and just present this as a monochrome image as well, I think is worthy of going higher as well. So I looked in the whites, Matt. I understand what you're saying, but I do find that there's enough detail in those whites, and they're not. I think for what is a very high key scene, they just retained enough detail. But I'd be interested to see if we can get this up to a gold distinction, because I think there's enough in it that's unique, and in terms of its execution, that warrants that.
Mika, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, and I scored at 92 without even seeing the two figures. I just appreciated the graphic nature of it and all of the footprints everywhere. They're all over the place. And while I hear what you're saying, Matt, I have to say, like, to be able to get that level of texture in white with all of those footprints all over the shop is amazing. But running with your analogy of the dancers, we've got bunting, we've got fairy lights, we've actually got a DJ turntable if we want to really take this somewhere. And if we want to go another direction, the guy on the left, who could be a DJ with the turntable, could also perhaps be a much more ominous figure who's about to disrupt this party because he's holding something that could be a gun. I just think there's so much you can read into this, and to achieve that with so little, that's exceptional.
Okay, thank you, Mika. Now, Peter, you're an 88, so you were sitting just under gold. Would you like to add a comment, please?
I've got nothing of substance to add, Tony. I think it's probably worth a gold, having listened to what everyone's had to say, and I'll come up to gold.
Okay, thank you. Let's come back to you then, Matt.
All right, I better clarify. I wasn't actually saying that there was anything wrong with the whites. I was saying it was like a painting kind of texture. It was a detail in the fencing, etc., in the darker areas that I was talking about. I think the whites are actually spot on. And I think the photographers even deliberately included the white border to go, hey, my whites are spot on, and I'm even going to give you some white around the edges just so you can be sure of that. So I just want to, give kudos to the photographer for that. But I think you all know how you want to score this, and we've all said good things, so let's do that.
Okay, you hold your score. Thanks, Matt. Everyone else rescored? Image scores 95, gold distinction. Well done, judges. Congratulations to the photographer. Let's have another judge change. Matthew, you've been there for a while, so you can take a little break. And let's bring Melanie back. Thanks, Mel. Next image, please. We have an 82 silver award. All judges in that sort of around the 80 range. So congratulations to the photographer. And a quick comment, if we can, please, from Matt.
So I immediately see some sort of green alien critter with a big red eye, but you could also see it simply as the forest it is with the lake, or you could see just it for its graphical and aesthetic elements. So I think it gives a lot in terms of how it can be interpreted. Um, I feel like it could use a little bit more space on the left because it's almost like it's looking in that direction, and that's where the light's coming from. So perhaps that could improve it, but I think for what the photographer has seen and captured, they've done it very well.
Thanks, Matt. Next image, please. Image scores 90, Gold Award. Congratulations to the photographer.
I'll challenge since we're in that territory.
Okay, Matt, you are at the high score, so 92. You get the chance to have a chat. Go for it.
Yeah, obviously I'm not too far away from everyone else, but it's worth talking about. I think the direct nature of this image, everything coming to that point, it's so compositionally and visually strong to have that the composition with the third with the land, while it's a traditional composition, it works so well for the subject matter. You've got all that beautiful kind of air glow coming down to that peak. The only thing I could potentially say is maybe it would have been a little bit nice if the peak had have just gone over the horizon a little bit more, but that's so pedantic. I'm in gold. I know a couple of you are also in gold. But let's talk about what we think is exceptional about this image. Sorry, I'll say one other thing is narratively, it's also interesting that it's giving us information about the structure in the foreground, but also the lifeline of that structure and how that may not actually be there in the future because you're seeing the gradual degradation of it.
Thanks, Matt. Melanie, you're an 83.
I am, and I'm listening. I think the color palette just gives it that wow factor in terms of how it meets the sky. I felt that there was detail kind of missing, or resolution perhaps missing around the sky, but I can't fault the actual composition, and I think it's a unique perspective that we're presented with here. So yeah.
Thanks, Mel. Let's go to Chris Saunders.
Yeah, like it's an exceptional image. I've already scored it at gold. I guess the reason I wouldn't go higher than that though is there is some haloing, I think, around the peak of the peak of the sort of mound in the front, especially where it crosses over the mountains in the background. So yeah, I've scored it at gold. I think it's compositionally fantastic, and the colors are to die for. Just a tweak on that haloing would skyrocket it, I think, for me.
Mika?
For this to be an image of nature, I just think that's amazing to have the V of the rays intersect with the well, almost intersect, and I think I like that even more with the peak. The one thing that and I've scored it gold, the thing that had held me back from going any higher is the top left and top right of the image has some color mottling, and to go higher than what I've scored at 90, I would want to see that noisy mottling reduced.
Peter, you have something to add?
Yes, in addition to the bit of haloing that Chris pointed out, well, I'll start off by saying I love the fact that there's this mystic supernatural element to this, and that's really drawn me in. It brilliantly composed. But the little bit of haloing and the noise that's throughout the image, I think for me holds it back from being gold. But brilliantly seen.
Okay, thanks, mate. Let's go back to you, Matt.
Yeah, well, I'm on gold and it's already on gold, so I think it's just really valuable to talk about it rather than just have a comment. But I would say one thing, and that is with the sky, in terms of it not having a texture, probably because I would assume that it's a long exposure or some technique's been used that would deliberately take away from the texture of it. But that's also what gives us so much power and the direction in the sky, and also a bit of contrast against how detailed that mound is and all of the rich texture in that. And then you've got all the smoothness around it as well. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Thanks, Matt. You hold your score. Everybody else can rethink their scores as they choose to see. Peter, you've gone offline, so your score's not coming through at the moment. Thank you. You're back online and score, and we have a 90 gold award. I think pretty much people stayed roughly where they were. So there we go. Well done to the photographer. Let's have the next image, please. Image scores 84, silver award. Everybody pretty close to that. Let's have a quick comment, if we could, please, from Melanie.
Thank you. I think the color tone and just the tonal range across the image is really interesting. It really highlights the height, I guess, of the dune across the middle, which in itself creates that beautiful yin yang kind of split from the top and the bottom of the image. Really well seen.
Thanks, Mel. Next image, please. Image scores 83, silver award. Everybody within a point of that, so unanimous decision. Let's have a quick comment, if we could, from Mika, please.
Yeah, the diagonal positioning of the tractor and the equipment behind it makes it a very strong image, and the photographer has cleverly allowed space both in front of and to the right of the image to for us to visually see that that vehicle moving and its shadow moving into the space. I think in terms of improvement, I feel like the contrast is just a little heavy. Had it been a little bit less contrasty, we might have been able to see more in the shadows, and as it is, it's a fantastic image. But yeah, that's probably my one recommendation for improvement.
Thank you, Mika. You can take a break. Let's bring Matthew back. Thanks, Matthew. Next image, please. This image scores 87, silver with distinction. And I'm assuming, Peter, you're looking
Can I
to
challenge?
unmute. Yes, you can. I'll take your challenge at 92. You do have someone else on 90 and then a couple of mid-80s. Off you go.
I literally, I'm not sure how to describe it. I had to push myself away from the screen when I saw this because it's had such an impact on me. There's this eye of this huge animal staring at me, but it's broken. There's just so much emotion in this for me that I have to score it really highly. Then I went in and saw that the whole thing has been handled really well. There's beautiful detail in there. The whites have been handled really well. You know, for an image that, well, I don't know if it's snow or something else, but those white areas have been handled with some technical brilliance. But it's the graphics of that eye that make this definitely a gold image, and I'd encourage you all to come up.
Thank you, Peter. Let's go to Matt on 83.
I gave it an 83 because of those same reasons. However, I didn't go into gold because I felt like while the whites of the image have been retained, I feel like there's not a balance in those highlights. So I'm drawn consistently to the left-hand side, which is a lot brighter. Whereas if I read this as an eye, then I'm almost wanting to look more towards the right because that's where an eye would be looking. And that is also where, as an abstract composition, I'm kind of moving towards that right-hand side. So I felt like a little bit more space on the right would have benefited it. But particularly if the left-hand side had been worked on a little bit more to get those tonal values similar to what's on the right-hand side.
Thanks, Matt. Chris on 90.
Yeah, so I guess just perhaps, Matt, to try and address some of your comments there. I initially thought as well that it needed some vignette perhaps on the left-hand side to balance that sort of right-hand side in terms of tonal range, and so I do get that. But my interpretation is actually I see like an elephant's head here, and that's the elephant's eye. And actually, the top left-hand corner of this image is the forehead of the elephant. So it would naturally get more light, you know, as it comes around onto the top of the trunk and things like that. And for me, the textures in the white just remind me of a dead and decaying elephant, and you're looking into a soulless eye. I just am very moved by it as well. I think it's a very powerful piece. I scored it 90. But yes, I do get the vignette point now.
Thanks, Chris. We'll go back to you, Peter, on 92.
Yes, thanks, Chris, for addressing Matt's comments about the tonal range and the area on the left. I think you took the words out of my mouth very well. I encourage you all to come up to gold, folks. This is a beautifully seen, beautifully handled image with a very, very strong impact, and I think it deserves to be gold.
Thanks, Peter. You hold your score at 92. Judges, please rescore. We have a gold at 90. Well done, judges. And let's give Peter a break and let's see Johan back on the panel. Thanks, Johan. And next image, please. Image scores 81, silver award. Let's have a comment, please, from Johan. Back in the saddle.
Yeah, stunning image. The use of red is well done. I think if there was an ability to get some more detail into that bright highlight above the red building, it would have fared better.
Thanks, Johan. Next image, please. This image scores 89, silver with distinction.
I'll challenge.
Guessing Matt wins the challenge on 97. You have 88, 88, 86, 86 to work with.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most divine tailing ponds picture I've seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of them. What really takes me is it almost looks like it could be almost like a medieval aged image that's been painted on wooden boards and then put together as a collection of abstract art, which of course I don't think existed back then, but let's say it did. And then it's just there's so much going on here. There's little stitches in those frames that are actually part of the mining process itself. But just such incredible details, and the color palette is just phenomenal. It's got this kind of muted, slightly metallic, but just really understated and gorgeous color. I just think it's absolutely superb. So I'll be interested to see what's holding people back from gold. I'm in gold with distinction.
Okay, Matt. Let's hear from Melanie on 86.
Again, getting some time to sit with this image is proving worthwhile for it, because I would like to move. For me, it's like a quilt, patchwork quilt. You've got all those beautiful stitches straight up the middle, joining each of the ponds, and the photographer has kept such detail on the edges with the truck at the top and all around the roads. You've spoken about the colors. They're pretty magnificent. So yeah, I'm happy to listen.
Okay, let's hear quickly from Chris Saunders, please.
Yeah, I was 88, and I think I can pretty quickly come up to gold. I'd probably need some convincing to come up to gold distinction, though, Matt, to what differentiates it in that regard for you. But I do take on board everything you've said there, and it is an exquisite piece. I've underscored it, but absolutely, yeah. But yeah, if you can talk me into the 95s, I'm all ears.
Okay, let's just hear from Johannes on 86.
Great. Yeah, I gave it 86, and I'm embarrassed. And I think the benefit of, as you said, Mel, sitting with it and enjoying it more and letting it grow on you is important for this image, because within it's not brazened, it's not hitting you in the face with, hey, look at the thing that I've made. It's subtle and it draws you in, but every single part is interesting. Each of those 4 quadrants is an image on their own. The photographer has wonderfully contained it using the dark edges along the top left corner and the bottom right corner. And it's just stunningly held together. Why isn't it higher? I gave it an 86, and I'm embarrassed.
Okay, thank you, Johan. Matthew, you have something to add?
The only thing that I will add is, as Matt had said, talking about this being a medieval sort of look, the thing that I greatly appreciate about it is the border that's been left in. When we go to art galleries and we see pictures from medieval times, the frame is generally what we're looking at as well as the artwork. So this has been framed and left with a beautiful frame around the outside of it to just contain it. Really lovely.
Thanks, Matthew. Back to you, Matt.
Well, I'm talking about gold with distinction, so I'm going to be very clear about that, because no one's actually given me any problems with the image that I can talk about. So I'm going to say, well, the criteria is near flawless. We've got some of the best judges in the country talking about this image, and none of you have given me a flaw to talk about. So I'm going to say it's near flawless. Emotionally powerful for me. The idea that a tailing ponds image, which I will be honest is not a practice that I enjoy the photography of generally, because of the environmental destruction around that. I feel like there's emotion tied up in that. However, the way that this is presented, almost like it's a piece of old folk art, and it's a frame, or it's something that's been passed down generations and different people have added to it, and there's different layers of paint. And if you took off or x-rayed this, then you would see another painting that's been hidden underneath. That's the kind of feel it gives me. That's why for me it has that emotional power, because it's just so there's just so much depth and layering to it, and then creatively groundbreaking. Again, we've all seen some pretty phenomenal tailing pond images, but so many of them rely on just brute impact and technical excellence, whereas this one, I feel like it's willing to sit back and invite you to take time with it. It's also showing you a combination of different sections of that landscape and how they relate together, and a color palette that we don't see often. And while these color palettes from tailing ponds are often unreal, this does have, it just feels like it's anchored in reality and the really subtle way that it's been presented. So I invite you to come up with me to Gold with Distinction if you can.
Okay, Matt's on 97. You hold your score. Judges, reassess how you see this image, please. We have a 96, Gold with Distinction. Congratulations to the photographer and well judged. Nice comments from everybody. Let's have the next image, please. Thank you, judges. Image scores 81, silver. Everybody reasonably close to that. Let's have a quick comment, if we can, please, from Johan.
Yes. Very simple graphic. I feel that the bottom's too bright for me. It just, the road leading in at the bottom pulls me out of the image, then takes me into it. I felt that it would have been a bit gotten a better score if that had been addressed.
Okay, thanks, Johan. We're going to have another judge change. Mika, if you come back onto the panel, please. And Matt, you can have a little break. And Mika, next image, please. Image scores 84, silver award. Fairly unanimous there. Let's have a quick comment, if we can, please, from Melanie.
There's almost a floral element to this ice flow, leading us up through. I guess it almost feels like vines or leaves, and on each side as we travel through there's little elements that really invite us to stay and have a little look, which I think is commendable for the photographer.
Thanks, Mel. You can take a break, Mel, and let's bring Peter back. Thanks, Peter. Yep. Next image, please. Image scores silver with distinction at 85. We have a challenge from Chris on 93. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. So a great image of a tailing pond. The I guess the two halves are almost showing two separate different characteristics of what a tailing pond can be like. In the top half, you've got this bone dry sort of cracked earth, and there's tons and tons of detail in here, which is exquisite to enjoy. It's not been over sharpened. It's not been over, to my eye, it's not been over saturated. I think it's appropriately handled in that regard. And then you contrast that with what's going on in the bottom half of the image, where you've got this thick sludge, and you can almost imagine stepping into that and sinking, thigh deep into that. So I'm enjoying that part of it. I think as well in the top part of the image, you've got a hint as to what these tailing ponds are for, which is about recovery of the last bits of mining materials, and you can see that little pool of gold there that might be hinting us. I'm not saying that is gold, by the way, but just there is a narrative there in terms of what's what these processes are all about. And then the very creative bit for me in this image, which you don't normally see, and again, I've seen and flown over a lot of tailing ponds. The netting, or the structure that we're getting over the top of both those, adds a very unique and intriguing element that we don't normally see in these types of images. So that's what's put me up at 93. We're at 85 at the moment, which is a great score, but it would be fantastic if we can get this up to gold.
Okay, Mika on 80.
Yeah, I certainly appreciated the technical excellence of this photograph. There is not any point in this whole image that doesn't have incredible detail and texture. I was left feeling that I didn't have a strong emotional response to it. And then I was looking for the other thing that would make me come up, which is a story. And Chris, you've just provided that extra information that I needed to come up. I don't know that I can come up to gold, but I can certainly take into account that story and add that to my score.
Johan, you're on 85 in the middle there. Can you please add a comment?
There's a sort of almost a yin yang thing going on here, and it's quite admirable. I gave it an 85, and I'm fascinated by the grid caused by the netting, you say, and it's got. Now that you've told me about what it is, it's even more powerful. So not only is it a beautiful design, it's an ugly story. And there's yin yang, just like that. I gave it 85. I've just talked myself up.
Chris, back to you.
Yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than that. I think we've recognized there's always a temptation to over sharpen and oversaturate these types of images, and I think the photographer has done a fantastic job of constraining that. When you zoom in, there is no haloing or chromatic aberration around those wires and the poles and things like that. The cracks, the gorgeous texture is there, and that deep dark gray below the red line. I can just imagine myself, stepping into that and never ever getting out of it. And for those reasons, I'm getting sort of I can put myself in that scene, and sort of as Johannes has very very astutely put it, there's a lot of yin and yang in here. So I'd love to see if we can get this up to gold, but if not, a few more points into a silver distinction would go a long way, I think.
Thanks, Chris. You stay at 93. Judges, please rescore. Image scores 89, silver with distinction. Good conversation. Thanks, everybody. Next image, please. Image scores 82, silver award. Consistent judging again. Let's have a quick comment from Matthew, please.
Look, it's a lovely, lovely image to look at. The depth that's created is beautiful. You know, as you're traveling through that entire scene all the way to the far mountain range behind, it's a beautiful image to wander around with the eye in it. I think the reason it's sitting where it is just because there's a little bit of softness in that bottom third of it. But other than that, it's a beautifully captured image.
Thank you, Matthew. Chris, you can take a little break. And Matt, would you like to rejoin us, please? And we'll have the next image, please. This is the aerial category at the Australian Photographic, or as part of the Australian Photographic Prize. We have an 84 for this image, which is a silver, with a possible discussion coming up with Matt challenging a 91. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, I think this image is so subtle that it would be easy to look past it, but when you sit with it for longer, it just reveals so much to you. It's an image of a landscape. It's beautifully authentic, but also has this remnants of an indigenous dot pattern or something to it. It has a lot of kind of like, I'd say, spiritual depth that I feel from it. It's almost like I'm connected to the land through this image, through its patterns. It's beautifully balanced. And then it has those little areas of what looks like sand or a smooth soil in a few spots in the center, just to hold your eye before you then start examining these patterns and channels again. So I'd encourage you to sit with it a bit longer and see where it goes.
Well, let's see where it goes for Mika, who's on 81.
Yeah, I scored at 81. I kind of envisaged like wormholes or something like that. So I'm definitely seeing the earthiness of it, and it has been really well handled. There's a lot of detail, and I do appreciate its understatedness. It didn't have the impact on me that it has had on you, Matt, but I'm listening.
Johan on 88, you were very close to a gold.
Yes. For me, I had the same response as Matt with the Indigenous painting. And because I don't have the depth of understanding or the cultural understanding of them, this has more of a feel than a story to me. And I think the accuracy or its ability to replicate the works that I've seen without it actually saying anything in particular is quite strong. Even to the bit where it ends at the bottom right-hand side with the beginning. And it's just beautifully done. There's a wonderful balance, and the strength is in its simplicity and its beauty and the wonderful ochre tones. It's just stunning. I gave it an 88. I'm happy to be talked up.
Okay, let's go back to Matt. Thank you, Johan. Back to you, Matt.
When Johan talks, I'm always hopeful he might talk himself up and see something that even I didn't see as well. Yeah, I just think it's beautifully understated. The texture is gorgeous. There's so much detail. There's little pops of color, so you can see little greens. I guess it speaks to the land in terms of how the water might be running underground through this scene, and then the foliage that adapts to that above the ground level. I just think it's an image that would be easy to pass over because it doesn't have that visual impact that a lot of aerial photographs do. But can you imagine standing in front of this on a wall and it's printed, 2-3 meters wide by another 3 meters, and just it can absorb you into this feeling. So that's what I'm responding to. I hope you can respond to it as well.
Thank you, Matt. You are 91. Hold your score. Judges, take on board what you've heard. Rescore accordingly. This image scores 88, silver with distinction. Great judging, good comments. Next image, please. Thank you, judges. This image scores 88, silver with distinction. And
Challenge.
yes, I'm guessing there might be. So yes, I'll take your challenge, Mika, on 92. Thank you.
So for me, this is an abstract, and because of how abstract it is impacting me to the point where I'm not as critical of technique as I am impressed by how it's striking me. So I feel the explosion. I feel the rawness. I feel the movement. It's like it is like a firework. You know, when the fireworks got some wind and the wind is blowing. This is created by water, but to me, it's like fire. It's bold. It is. You know, it just. All my favorite abstract artists are bold. Kandinsky, Mondrian, like Rothko. This has that boldness, this painterly quality, and the detail is there. Like I look at all those little mounds in the bottom left corner. But really, I'm more impressed with the painterliness of it. It's doing things to me. It's making me excited. I have this physical response. So I'm really keen to hear what everyone has to say so that I have something to respond about.
Okay, let's hear from Matt on 83.
Yeah, for that impact, and almost like it feels like paint that's been thrown against the wall in layers, I've given it an 83. I think what held me back probably the most is the shape in the upper right corner and how close that is to the edge. If there had been like a little bit more space to contain that shape, or particularly if the shape was completely cropped off, I think you could do a really strong crop from the right here, and that would push those reds up again closer to the right hand edge and create something really dynamic and powerful. Then that could have potentially moved my score up, but I'm very happy to listen to what you've got to say.
Okay, let's go to Johan on 91.
Good. Thank you. What a smack in the face that one is. It came up on my screen and it just whacked me around. It's so vibrant, so powerful. And then it had the grace to give me a gentle corner to rest my feet and consider the rest of it. I was able to look around and see all the close croppings around the perimeter, which made me want more, but not in a I feel disappointed way, but in an excited way. I gave it a 91, and I'm very happy for it to get a gold. Yeah, what a smack in the face.
Okay, thank you, Johan. Let's go back to Mika.
So the only criticism I've really heard is the shape at the top right-hand corner. And to me, that's a counterbalance to the detail that's down in the bottom left. And it reminds us that this is a photo of nature. It's those little elements that connect you back to, you know, this is real. But just like Johan is saying, like there's that impact. And if you look in the most impactful part of the image, which you know is smack bang in the middle, there's so much subtle variation of color. It's not overdone. There's separation between the different reds and oranges. There's even little dots of I don't know, are they growing things, or just ripples, like not ripples, pieces on the top of the water, but the blending of the water and the earth is fascinating, and all the little footprints everywhere. It could even be coral with a fish floating across the top right. It doesn't matter really what I'm seeing. What I'm feeling is what this is about. And so for me, this is a heart over head situation, and I encourage you to view it from that perspective and perhaps find some more points to come up into gold.
Thank you, Mika. You hold your score at 92. Everyone else take on board what you've heard and let us see what you think. And again, for the audience, judges can choose to change their score or leave it as it is, as they see fit. This image now scores a silver with distinction at 89. Congratulations to the photographer. Let's have another quick judge change. Matthew, you can take another break, and let's bring back Melanie. Thank you. And next image, please. Image scores 83, silver award. Everybody's reasonably close to that score. Can we have a quick comment from you, Matt, on 83?
Yeah, I think we've seen quite a few braided river images. However, I feel like the photographer wants us to look at what looks like almost like a Medusa head or something in the middle of the frame, and then the rivers act as like the snakes coming off of that head. So I think that gives it a sense of originality. In terms of improving it, I think perhaps there's some little minor things like the brightness of the water that's on the far left edge could be brought down just a tiny bit to keep you within the main river system.
Thanks, Matt. Let's have the next image, please. This image scores 82 and is a silver award. Congratulations to the photographer. Could I have a quick comment, please, from Peter?
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, the photographer needs to be congratulated on handling this very wide tonal range from those very bright explosions of lava down to the dark bits of cold lava, well, relatively cold lava that are almost black, and that's all been done very well. There's a great sense of place here, and a lovely feel about this gold flowing down the hillside that it is quite entrancing for me. It's a lovely image.
Thank you, Peter. Let's have the next image, please. This image scores 85 and is a silver distinction. Congratulations to the photographer. Again, this image has been judged by our judges to all be fairly consistently around that area, which is a lot of words for saying you're all very consistent. Let's just have a very quick comment, if we can, from Mika, who's on that 85. Thanks, Mika.
This photo has a beautiful flow to it, and I love the color contrast of the earthy oranges and the watery blues and greens. If I were to suggest a way to improve, there's some mottling of color in the ocean, the branches of the ocean, purples and greens that have kind of blocked up a bit. If you can address that, I think you'll have a stronger image. It's fantastic though.
Thank you, Mika. And that was the final image. Who asked how long this was going to take, Peter? You said how long? Well, we nailed it. We finished at 9 o'clock. So well done, everybody. That's awesome. Thanks again. I'm going to hand over to Robin in a moment, but thank you to all of you. You've all judged almost exactly the same number of images each. You've all given very good comments. You've all been very respectful of each other. And on behalf of the people who entered the competition, I want to thank you for the contribution that you've made tonight. And it's been such a pleasure to work with you all again. As I said before, I know you all for quite a long time, and it's always fun to see your smiling faces and to hear your opinions. That's me done. Over to you, Robin. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tony. So that brings us to a close of the aerial photography category for 2025. So a heartfelt thanks to our panel of judges. Your insights, interpretations, and thoughtful debate have been a masterclass in visual critique. I tell you what, I have learnt so much tonight, and haven't we been spoilt with some beautiful imagery. Tony Hewitt, thank you again for your guidance and mentorship. It's always an educational experience. And to our team, look, couldn't do it without you. Our fearless leader, Daniel. You've worked so hard to make it all come together. Thank you. Our behind the scenes crew, Chris, Nathan, Helen. Thank you for keeping everything running so smoothly. And of course, to our valued sponsors, Nikon, AZO, KL, Godox, Ilford, Photography Studies College, and the Print Shop. Thank you for empowering this community to thrive. And finally, you, our audience, thank you for tuning in and celebrating the excellence in aerial photography with us. So just a reminder, the winners for this category will be announced during our live awards presentation next Saturday, the 20th of July from 5 p.m. Make sure you're there. And we will be back tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time for the judging of our next category, which is nature. Until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.